Aloha, I'm Catherine Knorr. I'm actually located in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm an attorney and the host of the Wide World of Esports. And I own my own law firm and have started a number of businesses and am currently involved in a startup right now. It's called Multiverse Sport Innovation.
Wow, awesome. I can't wait to learn more about that. Thank you so much, Catherine. And this was one of Catherine's brainchilds to do this particular episode. So I'm really extra grateful to her. Launching an esports startup, what does it take? We hope you'll learn a lot. Also here with us is Lori from SHI.
Hi, thanks, April. So my name is Lori Witt. I'm an education strategist with SHI. We are the largest female minority-owned companies in the United States. So we are a hardware and software solutions provider. I am on the education team, and we work with our customers to find solutions that include esports and helping everything from desks and chairs to software to management to cybersecurity. You name it, we can help. And thanks for inviting me. We're happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. SHI has been a fantastic partner for Illinois Tech, and we're thrilled to have you here with us with ESTA. And we have also a super, what did you say, Mike? You are a game extraordinary. What
Oh,
term did you use?
legendary video game
Legendary
developer.
game.
I have to tell people that because no one else says it. Also, I see I'm Mike and Kate, so I gotta mention that Kate's over there. So
There we go.
but Kate and I are the co-founders of Glitch, which is an esports. It's an esports stadium venture that we're trying to build esports stadiums all across America in partnership with professional esports teams. I should have moved my camera. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, having started up over 15 companies in my lifetime. I know all the mistakes you can make starting a company, especially an esports company. And I just want to everybody don't do it. It's crazy. But if you are going to do it, listen to these people. By the way, a female majority board of directors, and our CEO is a woman. So there you go.
Fantastic. I'm thrilled to have everyone here with us. I think we're going to do our best to get through. We've got fantastic questions. And let's start with you, Mike, because I hear you've got a great graphic for us.
Oh, you want my graphic right away? The reason I warn people, can I first say, doing an esport, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, esports is a great place to be an entrepreneur because it is a wide open market that hasn't yet defined itself, because it isn't really entirely clear what an esport is or where it is or who's doing the pro league or which high school esport or what game it is. There's so much opportunity there for any entrepreneur that if you're going to do it, this is a great place to do it. But then you got this, which is the valley of death. And I love this because every startup company in the history of startup company goes through this, where you have an idea for a company, you research and develop it, you create your, you can see my mouse, good. Yeah, you have an idea for a company, and so on day one you're already upside down because you gotta pay rent, you gotta hire people, so you're going to be losing money on day one to get your product ready. Then you want to, you got to launch your product, and then you go further and further and further into the hole. Actually, I think there's other valley of death for a startup. Let me pick a different graphic real quick. This one's even nicer because, by the way, the reason there were so many pictures of this is a common thing that mentors will tell you. Like, you have your ID, you do your R&D, you get your technology working, you launch your product. Hopefully people start using your product, and then eventually you have enough sales that you get back out of the valley of death. And what is this? The depth of that valley is how much money it's going to cost you to get from where you are to where you're going. And how do you bridge that? It's usually friends and family, or you raise capital, or like I did with one of my startups, you literally take all the pre-approved credit cards you've got and sign them all simultaneously. I mean, entrepreneurs are crazy, so you gotta do crazy stuff sometimes to get there. But angels, accelerator programs, public support, there's all kinds of ways, but it's all about crossing the valley of death. And if you've ever heard the term bridge financing, It's literally talking about creating a bridge to get across the valley of death. So that's where the analogy comes from.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And by the way, I think Catherine was talking earlier about how many companies make it or don't make it across the valley of death.
Yes, Catherine, would you like to handle our very first question? What are the most important factors to consider when launching an esports business?
Well, I would say this is a pretty soft factor, but it's your why. Why do you want to do it? And I think you have to delve into that, because if you examine that, you may change your mind, but hopefully that will spur you forward and keep you going into the future. The other question that you kind of have to ask is, what's your niche? What narrow area of the market are you hoping to capture? And uh, if you haven't really honed that down and exactly who you are and what you're doing and why, I think you're going to have some challenges.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll give that same question to you, Lori, since you've got such experience talking to many different types of businesses who come to you for support and supplies. What would you think? What are the people who are successful? What have they considered?
I think some of the things that Catherine has mentioned are very, very important, but also sustainability is another one that to consider, because some will jump into it because they have the desire and they have funding now, but you have to be able to look at the future. So you have to kind of do that backward design of, designing with the future in mind, because you want to scale, you want to grow. But if you're only thinking about how I start today, instead of having that vision as to where you want to go, who you want to include, what other funding sources you might be able to have available, then you're going to struggle. You might succeed, but you're going to struggle. And I think something else is that having a mentor, having people that have been in the space before, or at least know something about business if it's your first venture, to go out and at least get that support, so you don't have to make the same mistakes that they did as you move forward.
Oh, that's fantastic advice. And I would add, reach out to the opportunities that are in your area. So we're in Illinois, I'm in Illinois, and we have a fantastic small business administration here. We've got wonderful opportunities for grants and support and workshops. And Catherine and I were talking earlier about taking a short course from Harvard, or taking other courses from, certificate courses or courses on Coursera. If this really is your very first venture, be sure to give yourself every advantage that you possibly can. And Mike, I'll toss that same question to you. What are the most important factors that you feel should be considered when launching an esport business?
Yeah, actually, and picking up on what you were just saying, and in support of it, is the idea that I warn that an entrepreneur that the easy part is your product. The fact, if you're going to do esports land center, for instance, or if you're going to do a podcast or whatever you're going to do, that's the easy part. The part most entrepreneurs don't appreciate is learning how to run a business, because all businesses have so many important little factors, like how to do accounting, how to raise capital, how to run a retail store. If you're in a land center business, most land centers do a great job of setting up the computers and hosting events and having the high-tech computers all in a row, and it's all nice. But what they don't typically do all that well is sell food and beverage, or have merchandise and factors like that, which are critical to your success. Because charging people to rent the computer is not a way to make a living. The way to make a living is selling food and beverage and merchandise and all the other retail factors, which you can learn, because the art of retail has been around for 1,000 years.
Oh, fantastic. And I think
And
that
you're actually kind of talking about the movie theater model, where they make their money on selling
That's right.
And soda.
That's absolutely true, right? Like, if they only charge the box office, they would be out of business. It's all about the overpriced soda pops, for sure.
absolutely. And I think Lori's point about sustainability is one that, even if you're, think of your business like we are in a college, but still we have to run our esports center like a small business, and we have to account for sustainability. We have to refresh these computers every 3 to 4 years. So we need to be able to raise the capital to do that, to convince the administration on our part.
By the way, not to bring back my graphic, if I may, that is your way out of the valley of death. So the sustainability actually happens. Am I sharing? Can you share my graphic, April?
Oh,
I think somebody has to push a button. There you go.
go.
So making your way out of the valley of death is what Lori is talking about with sustainability, is basically the point where you have revenue greater than expenses, right? You have more income than you have expenses. And that actually starts at the bottom of the valley, because that's where you finally start, making more than you're spending. And that's how you eventually climb out of it. So you might be a profit generating company way down here and still be upside down. But also, the faster you get, the more sustainable, the more you grow, the more revenue, the lower your expenses, the more momentum you have, the more it kicks out of here. So, like, it's so famous that like big giant companies like LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, Twitch, they all were making revenue, but they were still upside down for the longest time. Like literally, these companies were able to go IPO while still upside down. But what got them in that direction was the ever increasing momentum of revenue greater than expenses.
That is a fantastic segue. Thank you, Mike. One of the things that we are wanting to talk about too is just what different businesses can be started in esports and gaming. We've got such a broad and new horizon in front of us. I'll toss that to Catherine first.
Well, in my show, The Wide World of Esports, I've interviewed probably about 200 people, and many of them are business owners. I'll give you a laundry list of some of them. They're part of the esports ecosystem, like tournament organizer, team ownership, streaming platform, content creator, esports coach, training center, a bar and cafe, LAN center, like Mike said, gaming hardware, peripheral company, game development, a betting platform. But then also think about.
Oh no!
Right at that critical moment.
Oh, she's back. You're back.
Yeah, and I was just going to say something really important. Just think about all of the professionals. Like say you're an accountant and you want to focus on esports industry. You're an insurance agent. You're an attorney. You're doing something totally else. I don't know if like a dentist would like have an esports focus, but a lot of different companies can target their market to esports.
Absolutely. Very, very similar to physical sports and traditional sports. Everything that you need to go right, you still need here. And in particular on the data side, and Lori, I'll toss that to you. Would you like to answer that same question?
Yeah, so there was a comment that popped up from Luke that was mentioning having trouble getting people out of their home to play. And I think that's kind of in support of what Catherine is talking about, that you do have to find your niche. What's going to set you apart? And so when you look at the airports that are starting to put esports venues within the airport, because you have people there already, and there are people that are waiting. And as a parent, if I have something to allow my child to do in that 2-3 hour layover, that's going to be advantageous. And so when you think about how to position yourself you can't really knock on doors and have people come out. You've got to set yourself apart. So you've got to be able to advertise. You've got to be able to get the word out. But that word has to be what is setting you up to be unique. I had a customer that was partnering with somebody that ran the cheerleading competitions. And so they were wanting to put esports in there because so many families come to those competitions, and there isn't really anything else for the siblings of the competitors to do. And that was something that set them
their income too. Yeah.
And so the people are there. So sometimes instead of trying to get the people to come to you, You need to just resolve yourself that you need to go to the people. And so being able to position yourself in a positive light where siblings, where others are going to be excited to go to, when you look at the arcades that are in the malls. I know whenever growing up, we had, a little mini pinball type of area at the public swimming pool. And so we got tired of swimming, or maybe we were, got a little too much sun, or there was a adult swim or whatever. It would be packed for, a period of time. So think about reversing that model where I'm going to have something and I need people to come to me. You look where you can go to take it to them as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, Lori. And I think also in the comments, we've got some folks talking about lands and events and making experience-based reasons to come join you. And that's right up your alley, right, Mike? Would you like to take that one?
Actually, and I wanted to pick up on Luke's comment as well. So a LAN center typically charges $5 an hour, $10 an hour to use the computer, right? And yeah, here we go. Yeah, so the LAN center typically charges people to use a computer, whereas they may have a better computer at home that's free. May have a better connection. So why should I go out in public and spend that? And this leads to a really cool concept for entrepreneurs to think about. There's all kinds of great books that you can read, and one of my favorite is called Why Not? And it talks about these cool economic concepts that you should think about. So economics matter, and there's this economic concept. When you tax something, you get less of it. When you subsidize something, you get more of it. So once upon a time, when cigarettes were first invented, they used to actually give cigarettes away, or when you got cigarettes, you also got blue chip stamps that you could turn in for items. They actually subsidized cigarettes. Then we as a society finally figured out that cigarettes are awful, and we changed it to where we taxed and taxed and taxed to a point where people stopped smoking cigarettes, right? Same thing in a LAN center. So if you're starting a LAN center and you're charging people $10 an hour to use your computers, look what you're doing. You're actually taxing the one activity that is meant to draw people to your facility. So what if you did the opposite? This is what Why Not says to do. What about the opposite? What if instead of charging $10 an hour, you paid people $10 an hour to use your computers? Now that may sound insane. How can I pay people $10 an hour to use my computers? But what if it was in the form of coupons or discounts or something like that? So, so just like playing a freemium online game, that the longer you play at the computers, the more points you're earning, and that those points can be used as discounts for all of the ancillary products that Lori was referring to, such as pinball machines, or buying drinks or food or something like that. Because think about it, what would it be like if you subsidized the playing on your LAN center instead of taxing it? And the answer is your place would be full 24/7. And isn't that entirely the point?
That's fantastic.
But then you have to have a robust retail
That's right.
related. I mean, then you really have to know how to operate that and how to price. And so
yeah, and the money is always not where you think it is. Like Costco very famously has the $1.50 hot dogs, and they have the low price chickens, right? You can, so those things are called loss leaders, right? And the whole idea is if people did nothing but buy hot dogs and chickens, Costco would go out of business. The whole concept is nobody does that. Everybody's going to buy a bunch of other stuff while they're there, and those other things are priced differently, right? So in a LAN center, is the using of the computer the thing you should be charging for? Well, the reality is that what is your cost of goods on the computer? Well, electricity and internet connectivity and stuff like that. There really isn't that much cost if your computer is being used. It's going to be plugged in one way or the other, so it might as well be used by somebody. That's not costing you anything. So you should make your money somewhere else. And by the way, the markup on a soda pop is insane. If you have a fountain drink, your cost of goods is about 6 cents, but you can sell the drink for about $2. And by the way, the most expensive thing in the fountain is the ice. A lot of people don't realize that. It's actually having the electricity to make ice is the most expensive part. But you're making a huge margin on that. Now, most LAN centers, they don't have fountains. What they have instead is soda pops in a can. And the thing about that is your cost of goods on a $1 soda pop is about 50 cents. So your margin is very small. Whereas if it was a fountain drink, your margin would be huge. And that's such a basic retail concept that 99% of land center owners don't understand, or they don't think about, because they're like, I don't want to put a fountain in my land center. I'm a land center. What would I do with a fountain? And the answer is not make money.
So we've got some very, very fun centers around the Chicagoland area. Ignite Gaming comes to mind if
Love
anybody
it.
looks up Ignite. One of the things that they do that I think is fantastic is they let our gamers bring their own peripherals. So they come in with the keyboards they're accustomed to. They come in with the setups that they're accustomed to, and they take advantage of that high speed and the great computers. Scrims is another a mom and son shop in the Chicago area. They do a fantastic job. This is a great conversation. I'm so excited that our chat has got these questions in it as well. I think where we'll go next on our question list is back to Catherine. Catherine, one of the comments was about women. How do you get more women in the centers? How do you get more women participating?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting point. I'm not sure. It's kind of broad. Participating in what? Um, I mean, that's one of the target markets that you would look at, and whether, and you would want to determine how to attract women if that is what you are seeking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, like combining things. That's what's happened in Chicago. We've got some great folks here. Keisha Howard comes to mind. She's got a group of girls, sugar gamers, they're called, and they're fantastic. And they come out for different events, and they do testing. They do play testing for big companies, and it's also that's like my first call when I'm looking for women to come join our events. I call Keisha for the sugar gamers. Mike, it looks like you ran and got a flyer.
I had to go get this. So, so we started Glitch, and and Kate and I are the co-founders, but this is an official quote of Kate Raphael. She says, it's not for me. and we had to come up with the idea of it's how do you attract women to this venue? And I go so far as to say, if it was just a warehouse with sawdust on the ground, as long as we had esports video games there, the boys would show up. How do you get the girls to show up? And so we've done a lot of thinking about that concept, and I think this is a classic problem. Like anybody who's ever run a bar has always had to say, how do I get all genders to show up to this joint? And there's a lot of factors in there that I as a man didn't even realize, like safety, cleanliness, things like that. I wouldn't have thought very hard about, but that's why having a partner like Kate is so great for us. So at Glitch, we're trying to go very far to make sure this is more appealing to everybody.
Well, one thing they do in bars, and you mentioned bars, is they have women's night, and like a Tuesday might be women's night. And then safety is important, and women should feel supported. They should, they should feel like their people are there, and so, I mean, there are a number of factors that would make it appealing to women.
Yeah, a lot of esports meetings we have, Kate might be one of only 2 women at the entire event. And she says how the women will make eye contact saying, hey, if it goes down, I've got your back. But that's the thing is like, I think esports is such a great example of an opportunity, where women can compete objectively against men on a level footing and win. And as such, the mystery is not, can women beat men in esports? The question is, can women care about that? Can they actually want to do that? And so every time we find women who are interested in becoming good at esports, we want to support and nurture that as much as we can, because we would love to see that.
Exactly.
I think isn't I was going to say the women's soccer team in America is the best in the world, and it's one of those things where there ought to be more viewership for women's soccer for that exact reason. Whereas the men's soccer team, not so good relative to the rest of the world. So it's one of those things where if we had a good, successful female esports team, I think that'd be great for the industry and great for humanity.
Right. Yeah, I actually just pulled up some Pew Research information, and it actually shows that participant-wise, we're pretty equal, 50-50, 51-49, men versus women. What's interesting, though, is it's saying that people that identify themselves as gamers, 15% of that 50%, 15% of that 50% of men identify themselves as gamers, whereas it's only 6% of their 50% that identify themselves as gamers. And so I think as we promote not only females, but everyone, the nice thing about esports is that it's kind of the great equalizer.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be male. It doesn't have to be female. It doesn't have to be, you might have people with different abilities that are some of your best players. And so one of the things that I think is to kind of tear down those barriers and make it known. I've actually seen many videos where I forget the game he was playing, but he's legally blind, and he and his wife play constantly. And so he's very astute to the sounds. And so she, in the beginning, when they're learning, she helps walk him through to say, this is what's really happening on screen. And he's beating a lot of his sighted peers. And so I think creating that safe space is so important, especially where if you have spaces where you're not encouraging or discouraging the language, I think it doesn't create that sense of safe space like Catherine was talking about. And so I think it's very important as we go down this path to do make it equitable to everybody that's able to participate, regardless of gender, race, orientation, whatever, ability, disability. It doesn't matter, because it is one of the few sports that I don't have to run the fastest. I don't have to be the strongest. I don't have to be able to throw or shoot a ball the best. It's all inclusive, and men, women can compete at the exact same level. It's just that promotion. And I liked what you said, Mike, about making that correlation with the women's soccer team. They are the best in the world, but when you look at what's being promoted from a national television level, they don't get that viewership because it's just not promoted. And I think that's something that we as an organization can take on to try to get it in this vein of esports, because it is the great equalizer.
Well, so as a legendary video game developer, I've been in the video game industry my whole damn life, and first published title I was 12 years old, and throughout my life we're there's a debate about whether more than half of the players are women or if it's like 95% male, and it turns out you have to pick the title. So certain titles are 95% male, 98% male, and probably shooter games with photorealistic murdering of people in various facilities tends to be very, very male. Because I guess men like to lift and break and kill things. But game like Animal Crossing, what's the other one? Candy Crush, are 98% female. So it swings the opposite direction, right? So there's an unintended bias in people who run esports events, where the kinds of events that they organize tend to be the male-oriented events. Like, when was the last time you saw a Candy Crush esport event? And if there was a Candy Crush esport event, I would think that the audience would be majority female, or I should say the players would be majority female. I have noticed that the audiences are gender balanced. So even in an Overwatch tournament, which is a shooter, we've noticed that there tend to be more women than men in the audience, which is phenomenal. But in terms of what titles you host, there's an unintended bias there, where I recommend to people who host these kind of events, hey, let's get that more balanced, because it's good for the economics.
I think that's a great point. One of our little subset, Valorant, is a fantastic sort of game that gets respect and played by all. Same with COD. Actually, we've got some great girls who play Call of Duty. But like you said, it's their friend set. Like if they've got a set of friends that play it, then they tend to find other friends that play it, and it grows organically from there. And when you do offer prize pools, and when you do make an event of things, or we recently at IIT, which Mike came to talk, we did a Tech to the Future event, and we gave away a PlayStation 5, and we had as many girls as we had guys who are lining up. I think one of the other things is just again, someone in the chat mentioned the difference between gaming and esports, which is a very clear distinction in many spaces, and particularly at the collegiate level. We at IIT promote community and promote gaming as addition to our esports program. So there's a lot of different audiences that can be targeted when you're thinking about your business. Since our title is launching an esports startup, what does it take? I'm going to bring it back to our core, and I'm going to ask Catherine what skills and knowledge are essential for someone looking to start up an esports business.
Well, that's certainly something you'll want to inventory about yourself when you're ready to start your business. Think about industry knowledge and business acumen. Do you have business fundamental knowledge, financial knowledge? Do you know about marketing, operations, strategy? You'll want to know about marketing and promotion, understanding the gaming community, technical knowledge, and then there are things like legal and compliance knowledge and networking and relationship building. But the thing is, some of these things you can outsource. You don't have to be experts on everything. You can bring in team members that have those knowledge, that have that knowledge. You'll want to, if you have a partner, you want to find someone who fills your knowledge gap and your experience gap.
That's fantastic. And our EsportsNext conference coming up in Chicago is a great place to find a partner if you're looking for one, and get more information in all those areas that Catherine just mentioned. And I'll toss that same question to you, Mike. What skills and knowledge are essential for someone looking to start an esports business? Since you said you've started 15
different companies. Yeah. Cool. 1/3 wildly successful, 1/3 broke even, 1/3 I'm lucky to not be locked up right now. Which actually is a pretty good rate, 1 out of 3, because the likelihood of a startup succeeding is worse than that by a long shot. The characteristics of an entrepreneur is an overwhelming sense of optimism, an unrealistic belief in your own capabilities, a certainty that the universe is your oyster, and a complete disrespect for the fact that you don't know what the hell you're doing. All of these things are critical to the success of an entrepreneur, and most entrepreneurs have it in spades. And I think to succeed is a different question. And to succeed, it's a question of learning the fundamentals. How to do accounting. You have to learn QuickBooks. You have to learn Excel. You have to know what a pro forma is. You have to be able to hustle capital. But I also say that the world of esports is a great place if you're an entrepreneur, because right now it's undefined. It's a wide open field. Really fantastic book by Malcolm Gladwell, right? And where he talks about how if you wanted to be a tech billionaire, the best thing you could have done was be born in 1956, I think it was, because that was the year Bill Gates, Larry Smith, and Steve Jobs were all born that same year. And it had to be, they were right in the right spot at the right moment. I honestly believe that's where esports is right now, because it is a wide open field that hasn't been defined. The upward potential is staggering. Right now they're saying esports is $1 billion, but that's out of $192 billion video game industry. So clearly there's some upward mobility there. So if you've got your hustle and you can get it working, there's a good chance that a high tide lifts all boats and you can succeed. But believe it or not, it's the fundamentals that matter more than your plan.
I think that's Outliers by Malcolm.
Outliers.
Yeah.
I love Malcolm Gladwell. Blink was amazing too. He's fantastic.
Mhm.
Lori, I'll toss that same question to you. What skills and knowledge are essential for someone looking to start an esports business?
I think for me, I've never started one personally, but just building your circle. And I think finding those people that know, or at least having conversations, because you don't know what you don't know. Because I know, at least in the EDU space, when we have people coming to us to say, hey, we want to build an esports team, one of the first things we ask them is, have you ever surveyed your staff? You have gamers on staff, but they may not be um, vocal in saying that, hey, I'm a gamer. So until you ask those questions, you don't know the resources that you have. So I would encourage you to, I know that you don't want somebody else stealing your ideas, of course, but being able to have some of those conversations to at least find out what your close circle knows. And through that, you're going to kind of have that, 3 degrees of separation that I might have a friend that knows somebody that knows Mike. And so being able to reach out and not starting from square one, maybe through your circle and through your support, you're maybe starting at square 10. And so being able to avoid some of those pitfalls that have been discussed already.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I think you can't overemphasize how important your network is and how important who you know and who you connect with and who has your back. Your integrity is on the line when you call in all your friends and all your family. So but one of the things that we do very well, I think, in the esports community is share information. Everybody wants everyone to succeed, and I think there's a fantastic community here, particularly in the collegiate space. That's where I'm at, and also with places like Sam from Level X, fantastic company in Chicago as well. His dad gave him grief for not being a doctor, so he built games that teach doctors how to do complex surgeries, and now they get continuing education for leveling up in his games.
Nice.
So
Cool.
being creative about what you want to do and holding your own and keeping your joy in center focus, keeping what makes you happy in center, and who you want to grow with. I think that's one of the things that you want to make sure that are essential for folks looking not only to start an esports business, but to start any business at all. You want to make sure that you're dealing with people who are honest, who are got integrity, who want the same mission that you want, who are willing to go the long run with you, and who are also adaptable and willing to change. If you see that things are not panning out as you thought they might, being willing to pivot and do something different and take a different path together or apart. I think that's also very important. So in our comments, we've got some great comments. I'm glad you guys are meeting each other. Keep it up. We've got one comment saying that Riot does a great job promoting inclusiveness. There are also lots of different organizations like Game Changers. There are some that are doing non-for-profit work. Our kids here at Illinois Tech did a great outing to the different hospitals to bring gaming to the people who are critically ill in the hospitals. We've got a lot of different opportunities for nonprofits. It doesn't just have to be a profit-focused business. That if you're looking to get into esports, are there any examples that you guys might know of that you think if someone is looking to get into esports, they should sort of do some research on? Doing your competitive research is always a good step to understand where you might fit in the landscape. Do you guys have, and I'll just throw it out to anybody who wants to answer, are there any companies that you feel are really just rocking it and are worth taking a look?
Actually, it's funny. It made me think of one of my isms, which is if you don't have competition, then you also don't have a market. That's from Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, which basically says there must be competitors doing what you want to do, otherwise there's not a market. Makes sense, right? So if you want to start a team, go look at other teams. If you want to start a venue, go look at other venues. If you want to start, like an Esports Trade Association, look at other trade associations, that sort of thing. but that's a generic answer. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a good answer. Yeah, I think one of the things, one of my dear friends, Kevin Fair, loved gaming, and he started a company out of Chicago where he goes to the big, like ASIN and all of the big cosplay, all of the Comic Cons, and he sets up gaming stations right in those big venues.
Oh yeah.
And he goes to the public schools and he sets up gaming for the kids in the public schools. And I think if you are an entrepreneur, you find a way to make your way, as it were,
That's right. That's
to
exactly it.
bring your passion and bring what you care about to the table. So his company is I Play Games. I think he's a fantastic person
Oh,
to look
I
at
love the name.
if you're interested in going up, starting out. And I mentioned Sugar Gamers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Then we've got another question for you all. What resources are out there? What resources are available for business startups?
Mm.
When I'll jump in on this. People need to join Esports Trade Association, and they also need to become involved and attend EsportsNext in August. There's an elevator pitch competition. There's a lot of opportunity for networking and for learning. And so those are fantastic resources. Actually, Esports Trade Association has research that is on the website for members. And there's a lot of opportunities for members that are really key in making those connections that you need and getting the information and knowledge that you need.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we definitely want to promote. It's in Chicago. I'm a big fan of Chicago. If you've never been here, we definitely want to promote the conference coming up and the association. How about Lori? Do you have any resources that I know SHI has some fantastic resources that SHI will even help you write grants to get money to build your land center?
Yes, they will. So we have a grants program where it's mainly for K-12. K-12 and some higher ed. And what they'll do is they will basically do the research for you. So one of the things, at least in the K-12 space, there's not esports specific grants, but there's a lot of grants out there for STEAM and STEM. And if you have the robust machines that will run STEAM and STEM, then so if you think of AutoCAD and a lot of the Adobe suite, then what you can do is you can also use those same machines for your esports program. So it's kind of twofold, and a lot of grants like the fact that you're going to use those for a multi-purpose. So those are some of the things that we highly encourage. And through a one-page document, you can get a 30-page document in return that lists some of the eligibility grants that you're eligible for out there, so that you can at least be able to narrow down your search. And if you have grant writers on staff, they fully support that. But if you need somebody to write the grants, they can, for a fee, everything up to that point is free, they can, for a fee, help you write the grant. And they'll review it for you and try to make sure that you're positioning yourself in the best way possible. But along the same lines with that, highly encourage you, especially if you are in a K-12 environment or a higher ed environment, reaching out to those community partners. You would be surprised at the number of communities that see how esports can start bringing our students into a safe environment. I always say that one of the things that is so concerning for me is we have a lot of support programs for our elementary school students. We have programs for our high school students through other athletics. They have jobs, but it's those middle school kids where we start losing them if we're not careful, because there's really nowhere for them to go. So if you can establish places, safe spaces for those students to come, and maybe they are doing STEAM, they're doing esports, they have a variety of activities, you're going to also get that community involvement in there. So when you look at the YMCAs, the Boys and Girls Clubs, those sorts of things, you could partner very easily with them to create that environment and be of service to your community as well. And then other grants will then fall into that same category, where you're going to grow and maybe expand through other parts of your community as well.
That is fantastic. And for all of those who are looking to serve children, Microsoft and Minecraft and their programs that are very established have great already are wonderfully supported, and it's a phone call away to get more help than you could ever imagine.
Absolutely.
So Mike, I'll toss that same question to you. What would you recommend for resources that might be available for business startups?
Well, once again, I look at this through the lens of being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur's it's all about gathering resources. That's what you got to do. And in fact, I strongly recommend you shamelessly ask everybody for everything, and you keep on asking. And as Darcy likes to say, you got to be pleasantly persistent. 'Cause it's all about gathering resources. RAB, read a book, which nowadays could be Google. Use the Googlies, and because whatever you need to know is there. How we all have intelligence. Google is extelligence. So there, you don't have to know everything because it's already on the internet. And in fact, oh my God, AI is frightening. Chat GPT. Just if you don't know something, ask Chat GPT, and it will school you. Um, but but that said, the resources are abundant, because I think from an entrepreneur's point of view, education is nice, and it's important. But the most important educational message is how to go out and shamelessly find the capital, shamelessly find if you're doing a land center, finding a location that you can get reasonable rent on, getting somebody to give you some chairs and some desks and some, monitors. And you just have to shamelessly ask. And it's funny how for-profit companies could learn from nonprofits, because nonprofits, that's all they've got is asking people for donations. So it's all about, like, I don't know how you got this Illinois Tech Center done, April, but I have to compliment you. It looks excellent. I know that you probably had to do an awful lot of asking of an awful lot of favors from an awful lot of people to get that done. In fact, do you want to share the story?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I wanted to give a shameless plug for Catherine's awesome podcast, because that's another great place for resources.
Okay, yeah,
Go
please.
listen to the podcasts that are out there for people. Wild World of Esports.
Yep.
For people who are and James O'Hagan, he's got a fantastic podcast. And all of her guests and all of his guests also are folks you can reach out to. So just make every effort to broaden your network and learn about it. Don't if you don't know much about esports, but you want to be involved, don't stay at not knowing much about esports. Add to your repertoire, add to what you did. Like when I started this center behind me, I don't know if you can see it. We took over an old conference room that was in very, very premier space. It's all glass. It's like we're in a big glass box in our student center, and it used to be the executive conference space. And again, when you're at a university, it's very similar. It's to what Mike was saying. It's keep asking the right people, keep making the right case, keep your keep your skin thick.
Yeah.
Because there are many people who still believe that esports is a waste of time. It's not, it's something that they're doing when they should be studying. And I made the case over and over that it's protecting their mental health. It's giving them a well-needed break. It's teaching them leadership, communication. It's teaching them all sorts of fantastic skills. But again, at a university space, you're competing with the guy that's teaching the blind to see with implanted chips in their head. You're competing with people who are curing
and all these
cancer and
other.
all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting ask to try to elevate play to the point that I believe it should be elevated. I think, play, camaraderie, community, those things are what keep people in school and keep people focused on learning how to cure cancer and learning how to be the greatest engineers they can be. They need that balance. They need
Yeah,
to be able
and April, I think you're the definition of pleasantly persistent. And I know when we were at your last event, there was a large number of people that told me the same thing. I do whatever April tells me to do. But it's because you're very pleasantly persistent.
Oh, thank you so much.
April, I wanted to capitalize on something that you said, because sometimes when we talk about esports, we focus on the player. And it's not just about the player. So there's so many other things. So as you're going out to grow this business, yes, you want to focus on gameplay, but you also have the shoutcasters, you have your PR people, you have your designers, you have your videographers, you have everybody behind the scenes where you are creating a space for those students that might be interested, or those people that might be interested in maybe changing a career field. They can gain that experience. And so through that gameplay, they have the opportunity to add things to the resume, because maybe there's a school district, and I won't mention their name per se, but they have competitions and it's completely student ran. The adults give out the t-shirts and they run registration. It's the kids that are running everything else. And so that's the environment that you want when you talk about setting yourself apart and making yourself valuable in your community, making yourself valuable to others where they're wanting to come to you now. You've done that outreach. You've gotten your I's dotted and T's crossed. You've asked the right questions. Now you're off the ground. They're going to want to come to you and say, show me what you did. And it's being able to not focus on one lane. You've got multiple lanes that are going to also increase the value of your facility.
Absolutely. And I think one of the intersection that I'm exploring now with my PhD is the intersection between digital labor and esports. I've got kids that have paid off their college loans because they know how to create Twitch communities. They know how to capitalize on Patreon. They know how to take their same clips and make amazing highlight reels with video editing. They know how to actually, really, they know how to lean into events and create really fun events with prize pools. And it's just really fantastic to watch them grow. And someone mentioned Roblox before. They're also one of our Call of Duty players told the story of someone who designed a skin for Call of Duty. And if that skin goes viral on Call of Duty, that kid in college gets millions of dollars. So that that what they're selling now is not physical products. It's not pop. They're selling digital items that they've created using AutoCAD or 3D SourceForge or something else like that. And I think it's just a fantastic time to be in this space if you are 20. I'm long way from 20, but I'm doing my best to keep the kids aware of the potential monetization that they can enjoy through esports and through gaming and through their hobbies in a way that doesn't cost them, it doesn't cost them all their time. Like when we were kids, we had to work reception or work something physical. These kids can do digital and really nail it.
Yeah, actually, having familiarity with computers and having tech skills is one of those shocking. It's one of the things you make fun of a boomer who doesn't know how to use a computer, and people who are esports players, or and for every player, I think there may be 20 or 30 behind the scenes jobs. But the fact that you're familiar with how technology works, how to do a live stream, how to boot and format a computer, how to plug in the hardware, those are all valuable skills that people above a certain age may not even have.
Absolutely. And networking, like, if they set up a LAN, they've got to call our Office of Technology Services and figure out how many cables they need, what's the power source, what's the, all of these skills that the esports gives them the why. Why should I learn this? Why am I interested in this? And I think that's where that is a wonderful sort of entry level to the technology scene.
Yeah.
So we've got time for one more question, guys, if you're all game for it.
Sure.
All right, so this is the question, and I really like this question. Catherine came up with this question. It's about the elevator pitch. What is an elevator pitch? Why is it important? And how should you use it? Sort of as a how do you use it as a tool for good?
Oh, well, I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
So, as I'm always pitching for capital. I'm always pitching, for sponsors or whatever. And I've had to learn to be able to tell my entire story very quickly, because you have a very short amount of time to get somebody's attention. The whole idea is, you're standing next to a prospect, you're on the first floor. By the time you get to the 15th floor, you've either sold this person or you haven't. So, so even as I'm, Glitch is building 32 esports stadiums all across America, each of the official home stadium of a professional esports teams. We're partnered with ASM Global, Cisco, and Legends. It's a multi-purpose performance venue combined with location-based entertainment, and we're looking for teams and investment capital. I can get that whole thing down to, between floors 3 and 7. And by floor 12,
right
you're asking for capital. Yeah. So it's much easier to say I'm a legendary video game developer rather than start listing my titles. You get all these shorthands because you want to get to the point. People are impatient, especially wealthy people who've got the money that you're looking to invest tend to not have a whole lot of time, and so you got to get to the point quickly.
I think we need elevator pitches for our businesses, but we need them for ourselves in terms of, our ability to network. But, an elevator pitch, it has a number of reasons for doing it. You're trying to provide a first impression of your business. You're clarifying your purpose. You're using it for networking. You're using it to attract investors and partners, and for marketing and public relations. So, what we have at EsportsNext, the elevator pitch competition or presentation, that is gives you practice to do something that's crucial for your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I wanted to remind people of a quote from Mark Twain, where I'm writing you a long letter because I don't have time to write you a short letter, which is kind of the whole idea. If you can't get your concept down to an elevator pitch, it means you haven't really thought your concept down well enough. So if the reason elevator pitch competitions work is because you have to be able to pitch it in a short amount of time. Because if you can't do that, then you probably haven't done your homework. You haven't gotten it down. You should write your thesis, your opening paragraph after you've written your entire essay. Go back and now, like even as you're writing a business plan, you should write the entire business plan before you write the executive summary, because it's impossible to summarize something you haven't thought through. And so I think that's the skill it's testing. Have you thought this through? Do you know what you're talking about? Can you get to the point?
Thank you. Lori, what would you advise say on business?
No, I there's not much more that I can add that Catherine and Mike haven't already said. But I think it does open you up in that elevator pitch to be able to do that quick thinking on your feet, especially if they're in that elevator pitch. If they are going to be bringing back questions, you've got to be prepared to be able to answer the financials, answer your business plan. And as Mike said, that if you can't think on your feet, and if you don't have a deep understanding of everything that's happening, it's going to be difficult for you to get those investors, simply because you're not exuding confidence in what you have. And you have to be able to be confident, because if you're not confident, or they sense you're not confident, they can't be confident in their investment either.
That's fantastic. That's what I was going to say. Warren Buffett actually said he doesn't invest in companies, he invests in people. And that always stuck with me. And your elevator pitch often is the first thing someone hears from you, and their first impression of you tells them, how passionate are you about this particular thing that you're pitching? How invested in it are you? Do you truly care about it? Is this your partner's business? Is this all Kate, Mike? Is this all Kate? Or is this something you care about? All of the nonverbal cues that you get from watching somebody do an elevator pitch is that's what you're really selling. You speak 1,000 words before you ever open your mouth, by how you present yourself, how you bring yourself to the table. And I think practice your elevator pitch. If you're interested, look in the mirror, find a friend.
I like the surrealism that Catherine introduced a moment ago too, about it's not just for capital raising. An elevator pitch is for yourself. Who am I? What am I? What am I doing? I can imagine what April Welsh's elevator pitch is, but it helps you know who you are and what you're trying to achieve in this world. So, and it does help to make it all very like do like Muhammad Ali and give yourself nothing but positive affirmations. I am
Absolutely.
the greatest.
100%.
Well, we're all a brand, so we're presenting our brand, right?
Absolutely. And the kids behind me, I don't ask them what their passion is. I ask them, how do your identity? Like Muhammad Ali will tell you he's a warrior, he's a fighter, he does not stop, he's
That's right.
relentless. That's who he is. Mother Teresa is not so much that, but she's also relentless and she's passionate and she will never quit. Those types of things that build your identity. Learning who you are helps reflect what you're going to do and how you're going to present yourself in the world. And I think that, oh my gosh, we're right at time, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you all want to give one final comment and then we'll close?
And I have to go raise some capital on the other line. So
all right,
I'm gonna go live my own advice here.
Go live your dream, Mike. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right, aloha. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you,
Bye.
Lori.
Bye.
Come to Chicago for Esports Next.